the ability to have control over AI in terms of how involved it is in the creation is super important. Everyone's going to be a vibe coder. So that creates a massive new market, massive new skill set. People are still learning how to use Excel from TikTok videos. That just creates a ton of educational opportunity across the board because there's so many different use cases on how to use AI across everything. And we're still early. So there's massive opportunities for entrepreneurs to take advantage of that.
Liz, another week, more AI coming at us. We've got some techno-optimists, at least this week. Tell us what's going on.
Well, I'm glad that there's some optimism because I feel like there's been a lot of doom and gloom lately, but there is some lights. So we're going to sort of highlight on two discussions this week, one from Andre Karpathy and another from a Stanford survey, both giving, again, some optimism to not everybody is going to be losing their job and things are just awful. So first, Andre Karpathy. So who is he? He is one of the most well-respected people in the AI field. He was one of the founding members of OpenAI. He was also, I believe, head of Tesla's AI. So he really knows what he's talking about. Also PhD, super smart, and has recently started his own company. And he has an amazing tutorials on YouTube, which I highly recommend if you want to get into the nuts and bolts of AI, but it's also accessible for sort of the average person. So he is just fantastic. And he also coined the term vibe coding. So if you want to know where that comes from, that's the guy.
Oh, he did?
Yeah, he's where it started. He is
nice.
The origin.
The grandfather of vibe coding.
Exactly.
Andre Karpathy.
Exactly. Even though there's a picture of Rick Rubin.
Oh, yeah.
He's sort of the face, but Andre is actually the one who created it.
Rick Rubin never expected to be the face of anything.
No. Anyhow, okay, so what did he have to say? So he was sort of talking about this shift in what the software landscape is going to look like. And so obviously we all have heard the phrase, or I shouldn't say everybody, but you most likely heard the phrase that software is eating the world. Well, LLMs are now eating software, as he sort of shared on his presentation. And so we've gone through now a shift from obviously the traditional code to neural networks, and now being able to communicate via English to software to create that.
Natural language.
Exactly. Yeah, not even English, I should say, because we have other probably people speak other languages. Thank you, natural language. So LLMs are going to become, some of the key points that he shared were LLMs are going to be the operating system, so closer to electricity and sort of foundational, which I think we're also all seeing that shift. But then also there's the ability to have control over AI in terms of how involved it is in the creation is super important. And so one example of this is like Cursor. So Cursor is sort of this thing called an IDE, which you basically type on to create code, whether that's, again, using natural language, but you can also write inline code if you have that skill set. And so they've sort of given you both tools of like go old school or be able to also do vibe coding. And I think that's the direction where you can essentially toggle the engagement and involvement of AI versus it's, okay, AI is going to generate it and you can't really edit or do much interaction, or it's, purely old school. And so that's the direction, which again, I think is maybe somewhat obvious, but just again, reinforcing that. So that was another point he made. And there's just going to, again, be more human AI cooperation. So I feel like that is a bright spot overall. And then building for agents. So this is the other sort of, I think, big shift in paradigm within the overall internet and the world, where obviously users have historically been the ones interfacing with the browser. But we're having a new world where now agents or bots are going to be all over the internet and doing things on our behalf. And so how do you actually build taking that into account where they aren't going to need to have like cool UIs where you click? They're going to start, shifting in how they actually communicate. And that might even look different than what historically has been called the API, which is, again, sort of the way to access the information and code from another software tool. So I think that was interesting. And then everyone's basically going to become a programmer. So where it's like, we all use Word today on a computer. If you have a computer, people use Word. That's probably going to be similar to how it is for creating software. Everyone's going to be a vibe coder. So that creates a massive new market, massive new skill set. And I mean, if you think of people like Miss Excel, people are still learning how to use Excel from TikTok videos and stuff. That just creates a ton of educational opportunity across the board because there's so many different use cases on how to use AI across everything. And we're still early. So I think there's massive opportunities for entrepreneurs to take advantage of that. Last cool thing that I think was interesting, he sort of got a little bit spiritual, let's say, and said that AI actually has aspects of human spirits. And again, that's basically because it's mimicking
Oh
us.
boy.
But at the same time, they're sort of taking on, different behaviors and biases, hallucinations. And so they have their own quirks. And so taking that into account both gives us an advantage. Like we have memory, we actually have a better memory, even though they can handle more context. They don't have as much memory in the same way as we do. So there's going to probably be a whole AI psychology that comes up out of this too. What that means, I have
Oh
no
my
idea.
gosh.
I have no idea. But that's just another thing, food for thought.
That one scares the crap out of me. I can imagine there being a college course, AI Psychology 101.
Yeah.
I mean, it makes sense, right? In order to fully utilize these models, you have to understand what they prioritize, why they prioritize it. And so if you understand what they prioritize and why, you can ask the right questions and prompt it the right way. Vibe coding is a cute name, but what vibe coding essentially does is it unlocks anybody's ability to build something with natural language. So we can say English or we could say Spanish, whatever, but just natural language. Hey, I want you to build me this website. This is the functionality. Here are the specs. That unlocks a whole new world where anybody can build almost anything.
Yes.
But in order to do that, you need to be able to prompt the AI in a way where you're going to get the outcome that you want. So that,
Yeah.
AI psychology, not freaky.
Well, it's interesting too, because there's been, a bunch of papers recently and fear mongering around like it not wanting to shut itself off and it obviously manipulating us and like other sort of horror stories around it. But on the flip side, it's like humans also are manipulating it. And so obviously you could say it's smarter, but I don't know. Again, it's going to be interesting in how we manipulate the AI, or is it manipulating us and therefore, everything else. But
yeah, I mean, it's like this with every technological turn. We don't know what it's going to look like. And so we build up all of these potential, worst case and best case scenarios. Neither one of them really come to fruition. Typically we go middle of the road and somebody will say, well, this time it's different. And it may be different this time, but typically we kind of figure it out and things shake out the right way. What's crazy is I was looking at this report that came out this week. It gave some sentiment on AI from small businesses. Do you want to hear it?
I would love to hear it.
Okay. So 57% of small businesses are using or planning to use AI this year.
That is wild. That is wild.
Okay. Why do you think it's wild?
Okay, I've tried to sell to small businesses software before. It is like a nightmare because one, it's convincing people they need it. There's a price point element. And then it's like the adoption aspect. So for people to actually you have demand pulling it, it's just such a shift from history.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wait. Is 57% high or low?
Oh, 57% is high that people want to use it.
Yes. Okay. All right.
Super high. I mean, think about like, any other big shift in technology, cloud. Oh my gosh, that was like super painful to get anyone to do on-prem and putting in a CD or downloading something to then, actually using on the cloud. And then mobile was like, I don't really need it. Why would I need it? And then, I mean, how many businesses don't actually even have websites still? So it's like
crazy. I know. Crazy. Hey, I don't know if you remember this, but when we started this podcast, we entered into a social contract. I would spend time, energy, and money producing this podcast, interviewing these individuals and giving you insights into how to build, buy, start, grow your business. And you would like, subscribe, and leave me 5-star review. Now, out of that, we both get to talk to really cool people and hear really cool insights. We both get a ton of value. But I just want to help you keep your word. So would you do me a favor? Will you go leave a 5-star review for me on Apple or Spotify? It would really help. And if you want, even share this with a friend.
For people to be this excited about it I'm excited. I'm probably more excited than they are, but
I think there's two ways to look at it. One way is, holy crap, 57%? That's insane. That's how many people are using it. And then there's the flip side of, it's only 57%.
Yeah.
the market penetration. I heard this crazy statistic. I was listening to the Acquired podcast episode on Microsoft. There's a part 1, part 2. It's like 8 full hours, which is actually, it's crazy. In 2003, when I think you and I are the same age, I might be older than you, but I graduated high school in 2003.
Yeah, we're same age.
And
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
And in 2003, I want to say the percentage of the American population that had a PC in their home was like 63%, or maybe it was like 73%, somewhere in that ballpark. But it was like, that was it. Like there was still 30% of the population that they didn't have a PC in their house. That's unthinkable. Crazy.
Right.
So there's still a ways to go.
And then on the flip side of that, like also think how many people still have AOL email addresses? Like,
oh yeah.
Yeah. My mom still has.
Whenever I see the Comcast.net,
Yes.
AOL.com, SBC Global, that's another one. If I see an SBC Global, I'm like, okay, I want to talk to this guy.
Exactly.
All right. Here are the top 3 use cases. What do you think is number 1? Those small business owners, they're using AI, and these are the top 3 reasons or use cases that they use AI for. This one surprised me.
That they've already implemented in their business? Is that?
The top uses of AI in their business.
All right. Sorry, I'm overthinking this one. I would say, I mean, what I think they should be doing probably isn't what it is, but like AI customer service.
No, content creation.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
Well, no. I think it's a duh to people who are on social media because they're like, well, yeah, they should be using it for social. Yeah. Outside of the bubble, that surprises me. They're using it for content creation. Number 2, data analysis and research.
That makes sense.
41%.
Yep.
So they do it. And then number 3, marketing, sales, and strategy. 39%. So all of these are not decision making. These are, consultative. These are, hey, I'm getting advice. I'm getting help with certain things. I think that's really interesting. 81% still say that AI stresses them out.
Interesting. Did they give any more reason or detail than that?
Well, here we go.
Oh, okay.
56% worry their business could be replaced by AI or automation. Mm-hmm. That one's crazy. Mm-hmm. All right. And here are the 2 stats that like kind of blew my mind. What percentage last year in 2024 said that AI tools are essential to their business?
Oh gosh.
Oh, I think I told you that number. Never mind.
Okay.
Sorry. 72% said last year, 2024, hey, AI is essential to my business. This year, 87%. That's a massive jump.
That's not, I mean, usually you'll see like maybe an incremental 1%, 2%, but like that's huge.
A 15-point jump in a year? That blows my mind. But then this one is like, it blows my mind and it makes sense. And that's why I love doing this podcast with you because it helps me. 82% say they want to consolidate those AI tools as quickly as possible. Because it's true. It's like, what do I go to ChatGPT for and Gemini? And like, oh, then there's this wrapper that I use on top of it that's using AI to help me with my bills. Like there's this proliferation of tools.
Yeah.
And it's really, really hard. That's why I think MCP, and you showed me that last week, can become so valuable is because that can be the portal through which you can utilize all of those tools. But it's just one place that a business owner can do. Anyways, I thought those were super interesting. Didn't you think?
No, it all makes sense. One thing I thought too was like, going back to your point earlier of like, it's only this number, like who's also the 13% that don't think it like that, that came up. Don't think it's essential. Maybe I want to buy their business. I don't know.
Yeah. You're like, can I get the methodology for this survey? Because I want to talk to the 13% and buy those businesses. Yeah, I totally agree.
And then I think the consolidation, I get it. Like I'm probably I'm shiny object syndrome on steroids. And so like, I'm trying everything new and I feel that overwhelmed. But like, even on average, like when you're just using ChatGPT and you have everything there, and then it's like, oh, then there's Claude. And then there's like these other things and automation, N8N, it gets very, very scary because there's FOMO. And if you're online at all, FOMO is real.
I've had this conversation with a few different people. I think for those of us who are in it, like you or I hate putting us in the same category, but we look at this stuff. We look at this stuff often. We know that there's a massive difference for certain functions between different softwares, right? We're like, oh man, ChatGPT is way better at whatever collaboration than Claude, and Claude's a way better writer than ChatGPT, whatever our opinions are. But most people, they don't have the time to figure that out. And for them to go from here of no AI to even what we think would be a bad AI is still such a dramatic jump and an improvement in the quality of their life that it doesn't matter that let's say I think Claude's a better writer,
Right.
and they go to ChatGPT. They don't care that that Claude's the better writer. They don't care because they've already done it with ChatGPT and it's like solved their problem 80%. Who cares if it's another 10% improved? And I think for people who are vibe coding or who are building products right now in particular, getting to market is so important because the end consumer is not going to be able to differentiate between a product that gets them 80% better or 90% better. They don't care. The extra 10% does not matter to them because it's already moved them 80%. And if you've missed the market, even if you have the best product, you're kind of SOL.
Exactly. And I heard of an interesting stat last week that might be slightly off, but in a weekend on Lovable, 200,000 apps or whatever people were doing with Lovable were created in a weekend. And so if any of those people are launching things or using internally, you have so much more competition and so much more
That's
noise
insane.
in the market that like before when you were choosing between, no one likes going through the sales process of buying software and similar with AI. So like if you're going to be evaluating like 2 tools, now it's like you're evaluating 20 tools and no one wants to do that.
Totally agree. All right. So in a world where the products are almost commoditized,
Yes.
let's just say.
Yep.
All right. The speed to market is so fast. What becomes the most important thing?
Ease of use. Ease of use.
Well, yes,
Oh,
ease of use.
okay.
I agree.
Okay.
Sorry. I did that thing where the professors like asks a question and they have a specific answer in mind. And then you know what I mean? Then we do what they hate. Anyways, I'm sorry. I did that.
That's okay.
In my opinion,
Yes.
the most important thing is now becoming a trusted distribution channel.
Absolutely. Yeah, that too.
Because you have these sea of options.
Yes.
And me, the end consumer, I don't know. It's like just, oh, okay, Liz, I trust Liz. Liz, what should I use?
Yeah.
Oh, Claude? Cool. I'll use Claude. That's why I think distribution is going to become even more powerful and even more important. Like the ability to go and market. And VO is cool, but it's not going to be done by the most creative videos or whatever. It's going to be from people or brands that they've trusted for a long time that are coming out with these solutions. That it's going to be, anyways, I think it's going to be even more important.
That validated a couple of business ideas I had that I'll have to talk to you about afterwards. But I'm also realizing, okay, maybe I can monetize shiny object syndrome. That's pretty exciting. Finally.
Well, Chris, I mean, Chris, my best friend, my Park guy, he is monetizing shiny object syndrome, like, because he's built an audience now. And it's like that distribution channel is insane for him. So I want to hone in on this one. 82% of people are like, there's too many tools out there. I don't like, what do I even use? How do I consolidate? I want to talk about one thing that you brought up last week we didn't have time for. I think can solve a lot of people's problems who are in the game of communicating. And by that, I mean presentations, slide decks, PowerPoints. There's some really, really cool use cases in technology now that will allow me to generate a PowerPoint without me spending almost any time to get it set up. And you're going to walk me through how to do it, which I'm freaking excited for. Save me from the PowerPoint, Liz.
Absolutely. So I feel like the PowerPoint deck with AI is the Turing test for iBankers and business consultants. And I feel like
what is the Turing test?
Okay, so that was basically like, can you actually?
Can I do it?
Go for it. Go for it.
Okay, Alan Turing was a mathematician, and his theory was, we will know that artificial intelligence is real when I can no longer tell the difference between a human and computer answer. That's the Turing test, essentially, right? Someone's going to be listening to like, technically speaking, what he said was, but that's the way we've used it is, will the output that's generated now be indistinguishable from a human's? And so what you're saying is PowerPoints have kind of passed the Turing test now for investment bankers, VC investors, people who use PowerPoints on a daily basis.
Yep. As we've been sort of talking about over the last couple of weeks, 50% of white collar jobs. Now, huge portion of white collar jobs, if you're in banking and consulting, is creating PowerPoints and doing something called creating pixel perfect PowerPoints. And I talk about this because I hate creating PowerPoint text. So this was like my
Me too.
Can we do this? Because I don't like drag and dropping. But I will say I don't think we're quite there yet, at least from Goldman Sachs. Those analysts still have a little bit of a job. It's close. I think within the next year we'll be there, but I would say we're not there. So I'm going to share my screen and show you some of the stuff I've been working on. I was building out a deck for some investors over the last couple of weeks, and I wanted to do it all AI. And I'll share what happened.
Okay. So while you're pulling that up, I just want to say really quickly, I also detest PowerPoints, but I think PowerPoints are great because they force you to figure out how to communicate and articulate complicated ideas. And that's really what they're for, right? Is like they can almost be a test of like how smart is this person? If you come to me with a 30-page PowerPoint presentation, it's like, oh, okay, you weren't smart enough to, get it down to 10. But it's very, very effective. So even if you don't use PowerPoints, which I don't, I'm going to use them a lot more now that I know AI can build them because they are so effective in communicating these ideas. Now, what are you using? Are you using Manus? Like Chris showed me Manus can do PowerPoints really quickly, but did you build your own PowerPoint like builder?
So real quick, can you see, what do you see on the screen right now?
Vocational education rollup.
Perfect. Okay. So I went down this path of anytime a new AI tool comes out that claims they can do AI slides, I'm on it. So I have tried a lot of them. What I have found is that, so I started with Claude. Claude actually does beautiful generation of like visualizations for business, which we've gone through and I've noted before. But if you actually want to put it into a format that's usable, there's huge amount of friction. And so that's where I started because I basically created all the context I needed for my research, which you can see here. Let me pull this up. So here was sort of the context I put in.
So what, I'm sorry, what am I looking at right now? Am I looking at Claude?
Yes. So this is Claude.
Okay.
This is just chat. I had a bunch of context in a project. So I'm looking at trade schools right now. And so I did a bunch of research on it, also using some AI. And then I put that into Claude, both in the project knowledge as well as into the chat. And then I created a prompt, just create a 7 to 10 slides of the same aesthetic. I gave an example and basically how did it create something. And this wasn't the original prompt, but
hold on.
Go ahead. Yeah.
You are so freaking smart and you just like blew through this so quickly. Because I think you assume everybody's on your same level and you're just like, okay, so what I did was I coded this really quickly and then I threw it into MCP and I was like, okay, well, you lost me like 20 steps ago. So you're in Claude and you have a project that you've created. Yes. Let's start there. And within that project, you have context. Okay, so here we are. Cool. And you've got a couple of context documents and the context documents being what? Some industry research, some analysis.
Yep. So me and my business partner had created, I think it was like a 20-page just research report going through what a typical business plan, market research, go to market,
You did this because you're thinking you're like, hey, we're looking at investing in all these different industries, potentially doing a roll up in a bunch of different places.
Yep.
Trade schools was one of them. Why don't we create a project that would just keep all of my notes and thoughts? Is that the idea?
Yes, that was the idea. And so I also have stuff in Google Drive that I can access that I think one of these might have been from.
Oh, sweet.
And so I can sort of pull things in and out as I need it. And so that also opens up your context window. I've been talking to a lot of people that are hitting max limits in the chat.
Yeah.
And so this opens it up a little bit. And so that's super useful to.
Can you show? So there are two parts of the project. One are the context documents and one are the instructions.
Yep.
Do you have specific instructions for this project?
I don't have instructions for this one just because it's been, too, I would say, inconsistent in terms of what I've been engaging with it on.
Okay. All right. So we've got all that stuff and now you've created a chat because you want to put your analysis into a doc or like what exactly are you trying to put into PowerPoint?
Yes. So I am now going to investors, sharing what we're talking about. We already have whatever. So trying to basically get our investors on board. And so creating a story around that. So if I didn't already have that context, I would have looked up, okay, how can I find an investor pitch deck as an example and provided that sort of as a framework to give Claude so that it would know how to do that. Or I would have asked Claude, find all of the, popular frameworks for pitch decks to give me that outline and structure that then I could use as a starting point.
Right. Because if you were to build it yourself, you need to give Claude the context necessary for it to then build it. And so you would have been doing a bunch of research, finding a bunch of things, seeing what you like, blah, blah, blah. But now Claude already kind of has that built in natively. So you can actually build slides.
Exactly. And what I did before, I don't think it's in this one, but I had it give me an outline. Is this the outline? I had it give me an outline so I know what was going to come. Yeah, this is not the one with the outline. Yeah, this may have been the outline.
That's fine.
Yeah.
So what was the first prompt in this chat? Was it like, hey, I want you to build me a PowerPoint? Or like, how specific or non-specific? Are you okay sharing that?
Yeah, let me see, because I had a couple chats going where I had first done the outline, so I don't want to also waste time here where I should have had that pulled up. But I
Well, that's
think I
okay.
basically said I fed it what I'm pretty sure I did was I fed it the research document. And then I said, my goal is to create an investor pitch deck. I don't remember if
Okay.
I gave it context or not as to what an outline would be, but that is a way to get it better.
Mhm.
Then said the audience are investors. We're trying to get investment for this roll up opportunity, create an outline for an investor pitch deck. And so that
Okay.
was sort of the starting point. Then it basically just did it and visualized it without even me, or actually, sorry, it created the outline. And then from the outline, I created a visualization of it.
Wow. And so this is the end state of all of that?
So here's where it gets interesting and tricky. And this is what I want to share about like the ideal version of this and what the reality is and what I ended up actually using. So this was an interactive HTML site that was basically our analysis in this. Why is this here?
And was this an interactive HTML site that Claude generated?
Yes. So Claude did
Cool.
all of this. I didn't touch this. I didn't give any visualization. It created
Wow.
some charts, some interactive. So this is all exciting. And I'm like, yes, great. All of my time is done. But then I realized, oh, wait, I need to send this to somebody. And I'm not used to sending just a link, which maybe I could have done, but I like to have something downloadable. And knowing my audience, you need to still have something downloadable in a PDF versus
Mm-hmm.
a website they might have not
Yep.
liked as much. So I tried then converting it to a PDF. At first I was like, oh, we'll just do a PowerPoint. That failed miserably. So like there is still an issue with format conversion. Like it is the death of me when it comes to this stuff, because I was really pumped and this was just clean. I'm sure it could be a lot
Wow.
better, but it was really hard to get it into a nice PDF. So like this is sort of the version that was closest, but still when I exported it, it just was like kind of ugly. And so this was the closest I got. Let me see if I can even.
Yeah, it has all like acquisition strategy, leadership team,
Yeah.
market analysis. Like, I mean, this makes me think then you would just set up a project, have all of your branding within that project, like your style guide and all of that stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and then feed it the context when you're ready to create a new PowerPoint so that it looks the way you want it to look. It has the color scheme, maybe even the pictures that you want. And it's like just able to generate every single time.
So it was less about that. It was literally just getting it into a PDF format. It's
No,
like,
no,
oh, it's
sorry.
there. Okay, go.
I agree with you. I'm sorry. I was like commenting on something else. I'm
Oh,
like, I'm just thinking about creating your own PowerPoint presentations. It would be so easy. Let's say you don't like this style. Like you can get it to the style that you want and
yep.
then create a style guide and then create your own like PowerPoint project.
1,000%.
So how did you solve that?
So
The PDF stuff.
so I didn't, and I used a different tool. I was like, it's at some point you're like, am I going to spend more time with this problem versus, just doing an easier, lower friction path. So I still have it on my to-do list of solving that because I think that will be useful. But I went down the path of using another tool that I think is fantastic. Here it is, called Gamma. They've already solved this. So I went down
Okay.
the path and started using Gamma instead. I have a couple versions here, so I don't remember which one I used. So let me just pull up a couple and we'll see which one here. So Gamma is an awesome tool. So let me back up a sec, actually. So Gamma, you can start from scratch. You can import stuff. So again, if you have themes you want to import, you can make it more aesthetically appealing. They will generate images for you, which is another thing I hate doing. So that is like super helpful. You can paste in your text and help break it up. You can generate it from one line or again, import from a URL.
Wow.
So let me just go back up here to what I had imported. So again, I had created that outline. I did sort of a free form and then had it broken out into cards, which are essentially slides. And you can adjust this pretty easily. So editing the cards, you can arrange them, you can change images, formats, even the model. You have access to multiple models. And so I found Gamma is really good, but there are some limitations, which we'll get to in a second. So let me go back to, like, this is an example of one of the outputs, present mode. So again, this I can
Oh, wow.
easily output, this is nice. It's pretty standard for like bullet and things, but doesn't.
Is this a PDF?
This I can download as a PDF, yeah, or put it in
Okay.
other formats. I can do PowerPoint, Google Slides. So this they figured out the conversion process. But again, it's like every one that was created, like I tried doing different ones, like they all have pretty simplistic, like this was a table, but like didn't generate a chart, So it was like
Mhm.
something I was not as thrilled with because I have a
How easy are they to manipulate afterwards? Let's say you're like, slide 3, I want a chart instead of a table.
Yeah, I would say pretty easy. So let's even see if we can figure this out here. So you can go here and you can do, okay, card styling. Then you could also go here, edit to improve writing, fix grammar, translate, make longer, shorter, break into bullets, add a summary. But what I would also probably do is go back to, let's see how we can get back to the cards if I remember how to do that.
You better.
And so here you can also drag and drop stuff. So you can definitely interact and like change it like you normally would or convert it to, a typical PowerPoint. But
Okay.
cards, where are the cards? Card template. Okay, so you can change obviously the layout and format. And I was there before, so
It's a better first draft than anybody could come up with.
exactly.
Can you download these as PowerPoints?
1,000%. So when you export them, you
Okay.
can PDF, PowerPoint, Google Slides, PNG.
Because then if you download a PowerPoint, you can go and mess around with it.
Exactly. So again, I wouldn't say that's replacing the banker, but that's replacing the average person doing a presentation for a person. And again,
Right.
it gives you images too, which is beautiful and nice. And it actually sort of figured this out. Like I didn't generate this myself with any prompt. It had the context of the slide and created that. So that was awesome.
I also think it just, even if it doesn't eliminate those jobs of the analyst who's putting the stuff together, it eliminates like 20 hours a week, like the first draft and the iterations, and just so much easier.
Absolutely. And I'm not going to go through a full demo, but wanted to give a shout out to another product that if you want to get a little bit more sophisticated, something called Flash Docs, which integrates, it's a Chrome extension that integrates directly into Google Slides. Now, I wouldn't say I'm like a huge fan of Google Slides, but it works. And they have they'll give you more interesting charts. This is from a set of McKinsey guys, so they really understand this and you can change stuff.
Cool.
So that's also really good. There's other ones out there that I like, GenSpark, Pop AI, beautiful slides. Like there's a ton of them out there, but so far I would say those are the ones that I've been most excited about.
This is awesome. People should go out and just play with this. I'm going to go play with it in Claude because I think that I like the output that Claude gives. But what was the other one? Sorry, I'm blanking on the name.
Yeah. So there, Gamma.
Okay.
Gamma, Gamma, Gamma app. AI, you'll find it if you Google it.
I have to think all these little AI companies are going to get consolidated, bought up by big players and just integrated. You know what I mean? It's just going to be, this is a feature we wanted, buy it and integrate it.
Absolutely.
Just so many right now. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Anyways.
It is to keep up. Yeah.
All right. Liz, this was awesome. Can't wait till next week. I'm sure something crazy will happen and we will talk soon.
Sounds good. Thanks.
All right. Hopefully you liked that episode. And if you've made it this far, you're either really committed or you're stuck doing yard work and you can't actually skip on your phone. So while I have you, the show is growing, but I have a favor to ask of you. Will you please help me grow the show? I want to reach more people. There's a couple things that you can do. Like and subscribe is the simplest thing. Obviously, you want to get notifications for when the next episode is coming out. But if you go the next step, will you leave me a review? 5-star on Spotify or Apple. What that does is it tells the algorithm that, oh, hey, this is a high value podcast because more people are leaving reviews for it, and it then pushes it out to more people. So that's why when people are like, will you like and subscribe and put a 5-star rating? It's not just to make themselves feel better. It's actually to get more exposure for the show. So if you do that for me, I would greatly appreciate it. And I'll see you next time.